Hey everybody, welcome back to In Bed with a Millennial. I'm the Millennial, Javeda Bay, and this is my bed. And today I want to talk about communication because you've heard me say it time and time again. Communication is so important for a healthy, successful relationship. So today we're going to talk about how to have better communication skills for that healthy, stronger relationship. So let's get into it. My first piece of advice is to ask for what you want. And that may seem like a simple task, but it's hard for a lot of us, especially people who were raised as women and are feminine and things of that nature. We are not taught by society and other areas of our life to just straight up ask what we want. We're taught to be coy and beat around the bush and like, don't be direct. But we know that is not true. We know that's not real. We should be direct. That is how we don't mince words and we don't put up all this other fluff in the mix. We just say what we want. People hear us, they know us, and things can happen. So ask for what you want. Be like, hey, I would like it if you took me out on a date. Once a month, you just plan a special date for me and you. Or if you're like, hey, I would like it if we just had like a good like 1 hour of non-interrupted like quality time together. Ask for what you want. And if you're like, oh, Javay, I don't really feel comfortable with that yet, guess what I'm going to tell you to do? Practice. I want you to go stand in front of your mirror and be like, hi, I would actually like it if you could just reaffirm how I'm feeling in situations. Like, practice it in the mirror. It's a lot easier to say things when you've already said them. Trying to say things in your head and then say them verbally are two different things. So practice, 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 practice. It doesn't make perfect, but it does give you some good confidence in the moment. The next piece of advice when it comes to communication is addressing things in the moment. And that is in all arenas, not just in the bedroom, but all aspects of life and a relationship. Address them then. And I'm not saying like you got to tackle the whole conversation, try and solve the whole conflict or whatever, but like don't let it just like, be something that's bugging you in the back of your head and you're not expressing it. So if it's in the bedroom, address it in the moment like, hey, actually, you're not really in the right spot. Can you move over a little? If it is a conflict within your relationship, address it then, be like, hey, I would really appreciate it if you would stop cutting me off. Whatever it is, mention it then. You don't have to get into a full conversation because you may be out and you maybe don't want to air all your dirty laundry out in public. But take some time and just make a note like, hey, I think we should talk about this later. I'm kind of like feeling some kind of way about it. Address it right then and there, let them know, and then come back to it if need be. But like, don't let it just sit and fester and boil up inside of you. That's not good for anyone. Next thing is when you actually are having a conversation, if it is getting heated, use a timeout. Those are your friends. You don't have to solve everything right then and there. Things can like work themselves out over time. So if you're in the midst of a conversation with a friend, with a partner, with a family member, and you're like, hey, actually right now I can feel myself getting a little bit heated or really angry in this environment and I'm not going to be productive in this conversation, let them know. Be like, hey, I actually need like 10 minutes. Can we come back after I've cooled down, had some water, like gotten to take some deep breaths and like really like recenter myself? Or be like, hey, actually, I can't have this conversation anymore right now. I need a break to reevaluate and think things through. Can we come back in like a week? You can check in with me via text, but like I need a break for a moment for myself. Just be honest and upfront and say what you need this time for. Don't just be like, I can't do this and walk away. Let them know I can't engage in this conversation right now because I don't feel like it's going to be productive for either of us. So I need to take a beat. Take a time out. We're allowed to have them. Grown-ups came with the concept, so why not use them as grown-ups? They're not just for little kids anymore. This next one I've recommended a lot, but a TikTok I saw, which I'm so mad because of course I cannot find it now, really, really, really explained how amazing it is. But it's using check-ins. So you don't have to do this like every week. Go like, hey, how's our relationship? How are you doing? How are you feeling? But like every once in a while, just being like, hey, am I loving you the way that you want to be loved? That's literally what the TikTok said. And I'm so mad I can't find the creator. But like that's such a great check-in question. Like, am I giving you the love in the way that you want it? Really checking in to make sure y'all are still aligned in things. Being like, hey, do you feel like our relationship is growing in the way you want it to grow? Checking in all the aspects, not just like a check-in like, oh, how was your day at work? But a check-in like, hey, how are you feeling in like the security of our relationship? Are you feeling loved by me? Are you feeling like I could be supporting you in different areas in different ways? Like, check in. You don't have to wait for things to be a problem for them to come up. You can check in on them, literally check in on them at any point in your relationship. You don't have to wait for things to get bad. You can just make sure they're all good always. As I said before, if you're in a heated discussion, like, you can totally take a timeout. But if you know that you're going into a discussion with something that might get you heated, try and go into it already level headed. Like, try and have a cool head and be like, okay, these are the things that kind of upset me about this, but like, I already know this, so I don't need to feel worked up going into it. Try and be cool, calm, and collected. And I know that's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard. But if we like put that effort in, it might make it a little bit easier for it to actually happen. So go into discussions and arguments and conflict with like a, I know that there's a problem ahead of us, but I know that we can solve it. And remaining calm is going to make a world of a difference. Best ways to do that: drink some water beforehand, take some deep breaths beforehand, meditate if that is your jam, which we know it's my jam. Do all those things so that way you are a little bit calmer, your heart rate's a little bit more even, and you can walk in and be like, all right, I'm ready to have this conversation. Okay? Yeah. Another great tip when it comes to better communication skills is active listening. And a lot of people talk about it and don't really tell you, like, well, how can I, get better at it? A good way to really hone your active listening skills is by paying attention and then trying to repeat back what the person said to you. So if you're in the midst of like a conversation with a partner and they're like, hey, I would really appreciate it if you did X, Y, and Z thing for me, say back, okay, so you need me to do blah, blah, and blah. Actually repeat it back to show, one, you were listening, but two, to check and make sure that you actually understood what they were trying to convey to you, because things can get lost in translation, and sometimes what we think someone is saying to us is not what they meant. So active listening, so that way you can repeat it back, is a great way to practice and make sure that your communication is on point, on key, and everything that it needs to be. Scheduling tough conversations is also a really good way to have better communication. If you know, like, okay, you sent me this text message, it's the middle of the workday, we can't get into this, schedule it. Be like, okay, I can't address this in the moment. How about we schedule some time to talk about it when I get home from work? Or how about I come over after school today and we can like check in with each other and really delve into this conversation. But right now is not the place to have it. Over text is not the place to have it. So can we just like pause and pencil it in for later? Scheduling it makes it a lot easier. You both, one, know that the conversation is gonna happen. Two, it gives you time to really reflect on it and process the information before you go. Because we are human beings. We can be reactive. And if you get something that makes you upset, you don't want to immediately respond to it always, because you may say stuff that you might regret. So, tabling for a later date is always a good practice, because it gives you time to not just blurt out something that you probably don't actually mean. And then my last tip for better communication skills is using safe words. And a lot of people talk about safe words in terms of like kink and BDSM and things in the bedroom. But I also think that safe words are extremely wonderful in terms of emotional conversations and communication with a partner. Think about it. Say you're in a heated conversation with your partner and they're just like running off, screaming at you, and you are feeling a little triggered, or like your inner child is feeling a little hurt in this situation. If y'all establish a safe word like buttercups, you can say buttercups to let them know, like, hey, I'm in a fragile state and you are not helping. Like, I would like to pause. I need a moment. Whatever you guys want to set the parameters, you all want to set the parameters as for this conversation, you can totally do that, or for the safe word. But like using a safe word to actually like interject it in a conversation rather than having to explain all those things, you can just say a word and be like, hey, actually, I'm buttercup right now. I'm not doing great. I kind of need a moment to myself. Or it could be even a safe word to say like, actually, no, I'm really great after that conversation. In our relationship, my relationship with my husband, we have one. It's lavender. If I say, hey, are you lavender? He'll be like, yeah, I'm lavender. I'm cool. I'm Gucci. It's awesome. Like, no, we close case, deal sealed on this whole situation. Like, I heard you, I understand exactly what you were telling me, and I feel good about it. I'm not upset, I'm not like mad at you or anything. Like, I'm lavender. The great thing about using safe words in terms of your relationship for non-sexual activity, whether that be emotional or just like day-to-day things, is that it allows you all to have a better understanding of how you can respond to each other. So if you have crafted this whole like lexicon of words to use for different scenarios, you can better interact with each other and have a stronger, healthier relationship built on, guess what? Communication. So go out there, Craft your safe words with your partner. Be like, hey, I think we should use thong for whenever I'm feeling sexy and I want to go home and get started doing some dirty things with you. Whatever you want to use them for. The world is your oyster. Use them however you want. But maybe just give it a thought. Run it by your partner. But yeah, that's all that I got for you today around better communication and all that jazz. But make sure, of course, you're subscribed to the YouTube, you're following the Instagram, you're following the TikTok, you're following the Twitter, and that you're subscribed to my email list. And come back next week because you know I'm having an all new episode. But until then, I'm going to see y'all later. Deuces.